Good morning. Welcome to the Bars and Bells practice. This is the weekend workout. My name is Ian.
And I'm Lauren.
And it's cold outside. So let's warm up with some gentle stretches with our body weight, play with our strength, and I'm sure Lauren has some ideas for that core on the floor. Head necks first, rib cages, and then we'll transition to the floor. Stand in a position comfortable for you. At the head neck, it's a gentle chin tuck in. Next, flex chin towards the top of the sternum. Rotate, following the clavicle, looking over the shoulder. Then look up the wall, head goes towards the center, and pull the crown high, returning the chin through the middle, flexing again towards the top of the sternum. Then rotate the other direction, across the clavicle to the shoulder, up the wall or out the window, to the ceiling, and then return the crown high. This time, let's extend up. Now rotate to the original direction, in my case, the right. Then down the wall, chin to the clavicle, top of sternum, and pull down to go up through the middle, and then rotate one last time to the other side. A chin tuck down, find the clavicle, top of the sternum, pull down to resume your eyes on the horizon. Let's repeat those same rotation figure eights through the rib cage. Hands in tight, shoulders in retraction, a moderate chin tuck first. Then this candy cane flexion like our forward fold, up and over the ribs to the hips, and then our rotation. Here I go to the right. Then a gentle side bend to the back, up and over to the center. In the center, return to the flexion, pulling the rib cage down to those hips, and then rotate the other way. Incorporate that side bend, gently up and over, hurdle out the back, and then pull back down into center. Let's repeat extension or up first. Up, keep those abs set. Then it's our rotation, a side bend, and then we're going from the back to the front. Pull down, engage that shield as we extend back up. And then lastly, the rotation, our side bend. Figure eight shapes back to the front there. And pull down on those abs to get back up to tall. Tops with me, bottoms with Lauren.
All right. As usual, I like to start our feet in parallel, but changed it. Let's rotate out to that first position. So squeeze your cheeks and gently have your feet end up in that V-like position. Right now, the inseam of our pants are trying to face forward. Our kneecaps are pulled up and our butts are squeezed. Now, we'll pull our leg into center in order to bend it to that demi point. This whole time that inseam is facing forward. Let's push some weight into that demi point. Then use our toes to get to the light point and gently flex over the toes. Still keep that knee to the side and stay tall on your standing leg. Now push into the floor to get back to the toe points, through the demi point, and then the heel will come down and that hip will extend. Repeat on the other side. Feel the pull off the floor to get to your demi point. Then use your toes to point. Gently flex or round over, making sure that knee is still to the side. Push into the floor to get to the toe point, through the demi, heel comes down. Let's do that one more time on each side. Feel that pull off the floor, the press to grow up, the gentle over. Now that we're here, let's do something bad. Let's sickle our ankle. So push your ankle bone out behind you, but try to keep your knee to the side. Then pull that ankle bone back underneath, push it down into the floor to the point, get over the toes to the demi, and the heel will come down. One more time on the other side. Pull off the floor. Use your toes to point. Gently flex over. Now let that ankle wing out, but keep the knee in the same place. Pull the ankle back in. Roll over the toes, through the foot. Heel connects. Let's continue our squats from here. Send your knees towards over your toes. Hang out for a couple seconds. Your shoulders should be over top of your hips slightly tucked under so your butts are squeezed down here. And then drive down to press up. Repeat again. As you come down, don't just flop down, but pull yourself down. And then drive down and away to stand tall. Repeat again. Pull yourself down. Once you can't go any further, could you peel your heels up off the floor, staying the same height and finding a balance? Then the heels will reconnect and you'll press through to tall. One last time in this position, we'll pull ourselves down. Our heels will peel up, maybe sink a little lower. Then press into the floor, heels connect, hips extend. Let's turn our feet back to parallel and repeat this, ending up all the way on the floor. So first our knees will press over our toes. Then our heels will peel up and our hips will descend. Our knees will land soft on the floor with or without your hands. The hips extend, the toes point out behind you, and you gently sit back into this nice sit. Hang out here for a couple seconds. How does it feel in the tops of your feet? Maybe the bottoms of your feet and the quads. Then let's do one more thing from the seated position, what I'm doing right now. And that is tipping our hips or our pelvis a little bit. So can you think about pulling your femurs in and adding a slight anterior tip of the hips by driving those femurs back? And then gently scoop the hips under and lightly round or posterior tip the hips. Repeat again. Femurs pull in to tip the tailbone towards the back wall and then gently tuck under. Do one more anterior tip, so the tailbone's to the back wall, and let's just extend the hips, maybe tuck the toes, and explore that for one more second from this position. Could you anterior tip the hips or the femurs now going up to the ceiling, and then gently tuck under, squeezing those cheeks. One last time. Anterior tip, and then scoop under, squeezing the cheeks. Stay in this position and hold it. With that light tuck under, adding on as you'd like, add a little lean back, but keep those hips forward. And then press to tall. Let's do that 2 more times and then we'll get to those wrists. Squeeze your cheeks, light tuck under, brace the core. Head, shoulders, hips, boom. One last time. How low can you go? And, whoa, get back up. Nice. And then shake that out. We'll turn it over to Ian for our wrists here.
When we land on the floor with those wrists, I recommend fingertips first, so check those out. Fingertips. Then those callus lines, knuckle lines, and then the full hands to screw into the ground with control. Also, blood donations face forward, armpits to press, they're pulling down. First knuckle push-ups today for 5 repetitions. Keep the elbows straight and press energy into the floor through the knuckles and slowly return the hands to the ground. Repeat again, push down, pull. Try to do this in tandem, right and lefts at the same time. But if it's more appropriate for you to do one at a time, that's all right as well. Maybe one more repetition there, up on those knuckles, just like Lauren's demi points in the feet, and then accept the floor back. Then push through, flick out those wrists, and let's remember, tuck those hips under, just like Lauren said. Quarter turn those hands now. Fingertips, calluses, hands. I'll push my weight to the right, shifting my weight to the left. Press to the left and shift or drift to the opposite side. There's a moment where you won't move, but feel that preload, feel that tension and connection to the floor. Repeat once more, shift weight, return to center, and then push equally, flicking the wrists, pushing those hips through, engaging the core. One last wrist thing, gorilla fists. Make those fists prioritize landing gently on the peace sign, knuckles being the index and middle. I'll open up one hand, fingertips open, and then flexing over the wrist, keeping the elbow straight and shoulder pack, and press into the floor to return that wrist to that nice stacked or middle position. Repeat on the other side. Easy over, pack the shoulders, straighten the elbow, and then drive the hand down to return. It is possible to do this one at the same time, although it's pretty heavy metal, so maybe one more time each, single repetitions left here for me. Push down, return, always prioritizing the load on the index and middle fingers. If your other fingers reach too, that's okay. Press through and shake. Wrists, because we'll be doing some push-ups or planks or nice fun stuff coming up.
Next, let's flip back onto our bottom.
A bottom.
Our bottom. Let's first explore our light split position. So come on down. Find yourself a nice sun crevice to sit in. don't think crevice is the right word, but sunspot. Okay, so in our splits position, just as we talked about when we were in that kneeling position, we're gonna have that anterior tip of the hips, which means pull those femurs in, maybe even move the cheeks out of the way to tip the tailbone towards the back wall. And you should then feel those sits bones or the head of your femurs on the floor. Let's either have our pointed feet or our karate chop feet, nothing in between. Now, from this light position here, if you're finding you're still uncomfortable in your low back, you could prop up your hips with a couple pillows. Hands are light on the floor. Let's return and revisit some ribs and head neck. From here this time, our nose is the pivot point. We're going to do a gentle ear towards shoulder. Thinking about growing up out of that neck, and it's the head on top of the neck that is trying to move versus the neck itself. Last one, each side. Grow up towards the ceiling as you tilt your ear towards your shoulder, and then pull your head back on straight. Let's think about that same move at the rib cage. So with our arms across our chest or lightly on the floor, it's up to you. Can we do a little oscillation? A tip to one side and then pulling yourself back up to tall. On this first one, our head is coming with us as we side bend through the cage and back up. And now this time, can we keep our head stationary and only move the cage? One more time each way, a light tip, and then back to center. Let's place those hands back down on the floor and do one more from here, which is our flexion and extension. With that light grip, gently retract your shoulder blades. Then tuck your chin. I want you to think about hugging or rounding over a beach ball to round through that upper back, but try to keep those blades pinching together. We do that so the round comes from the spine and not just the shoulder blades pushing forward. Then you're going to think about extending your heart chest to the front of the room. As you do this, keep your chin slightly tucked. So again, you're not initiating this with your head and neck, but you're trying to do that from that T-spine. One more time. Light round or flex over, keeping those blades together. And then gently extend, pushing that heart chest forward. Let's just sit for a couple extra seconds in this exaggerated extension here. Shoulders are down and back. Chest is lifted. 3, 2, and then relax. Can we come back to the splits in a second, Ian?
We can, of course.
I have more.
And until then, let's just check out that side lunge or the 90-90. Assemble yourself on an elbow down low. Lunge-like stance. We have those karate style feet, or as if we're on the floor down below. Compress. Pull in the bottom leg here in the front. Pull the femur head in. And then press the hip through on the top with that butt squeeze. Ensure we're pressing the floor away through the elbow. And maybe look at the hand on the ground if the neck prefers that place. Hold for a second longer and just relax the effort and stay.
Sorry, I'm just hanging out here.
Hanging out, enjoying that stretch. Okay, so one more time here, same thing. But this time put at first attention into the top hip, press forward. With the bottom leg, compress or pull in. Holding for about 10 seconds of work. Continue to extend the top, compress the bottom. And when we relax, hold the pose, but relax the tension required to maintain it. Then, anyhow that works for you, just switch and repeat the same effort on the other side. So 90-90s in that lunge, a proud packed shoulder just like in our getup with a kettlebell. First round, pull the front leg, this right leg of mine, in to the hip socket. Then push the top hip forward, extending the hip. Holding for time, pushing the floor away through the elbow, creating good tension through those hips. When we relax, hold the pose, avoid a big change in that shape. Then to reintegrate that second round, hip forward, butt cheek squeeze. Then the bottom leg here, the front leg, to pull in. Compressing the hip in the front, extend the hip in the back, hold for time. Make sure you're breathing too. Stay there, but relax the effort. Let's return one more time to the other side. Adding on, we'll extend that front leg. 90-90, compress the bottom leg, press through on the top, and gently extend the leg at the knee in the front. As Lauren said, we have that karate chop foot, dorsiflexed, or ballet points with a pointed toe. Next, let's press ourselves away through the floor and assemble in a light hurdle stretch here. Right now, this leg of mine is externally rotated. The inseam is facing up. That's easy for me. Going this way, that internal rotation, much more challenging. Hold for about 5 more seconds as you roll that femur bone in on the hip. Slow and low effort here, externally rotate so the inseam goes up. Stiffen or straighten that knee and repeat for 1 more time. Turn in on the hip so the kneecap starts to face up. The inseams adduct or roll in on the hip. Hold for an extra second or 2 and then let it relax a little bit. Return to that elbow. Bend the knee and let's just press back to our modified merperson position. Hold for a second. It's likely our ribs are over there. Can we press through the floor with the outrigger or without and stack those ribs over the hips?
I'm being a merperson.
I like it. I thought it was more like a crab there, more like Sebastian.
No, merperson.
Merperson. All right. Switching out, same thing on the other side now. So we set it up where that top hip extends. The bottom leg compresses. Press the floor away through the body. Safely, slowly, straighten the leg in the front. Maybe rich on the quads or those hamstrings. Then transition to that tall sits position here. Point or flex, but keep nice tension through the foot and then internally rotate that femur or bring the kneecap back towards your midline. Hold approximately 10 seconds, so a couple seconds more, and easy does it, return it to the outside, that external rotation in the hip. Repeat once more, stiffen the leg, find full body tension here, use the ground, roll in, breathe for 4 more seconds or similar here. Then relax it a little bit, find the elbow, bend the knee, but then press back off that elbow to our merperson position. Again, using that outrigger will allow you to keep the ribs over the hips. Avoid mixed slumps out here and instead aim to be very, very tall.
Very, very tall.
Very, very tall.
Back to the splits.
All right.
Either transitioning from this position or however you need to, let's get ourselves back into the splits for 1 more time and slide our rib cage a little bit from side to side. In that splits position this time, maybe it's a little bit more comfortable. Maybe it's a little bit bigger, but remember to move those cheeks, tip the hips, find those sit bones, and then light hands out front. Starting with the rib cage slide. So the shoulders will stay parallel with the floor. Let's gently slide the cage one way and then back through center and slide the cage the other way. How does this feel in your body? Harder to go one way? Maybe. Not wrong. And then the other. Do you feel like a little teapot? So are you, instead of sliding, are you tipping from side to side? Try to avoid that and really keep those shoulders parallel with the floor. Once you come back to center, let's use that slight anterior tip again. So the tailbone's reaching to the back wall, and maybe we start to work ourselves forward towards that pancake-like position. Our feet are either pointed or flexed, our knees are nice and straight. We're trying to keep the rotation in the legs gently open so that they're not just rolling forward with us. Hang out for a couple seconds, and then use your own power to try to press yourself back up. Excellent. Bring those legs back together, and I think it's time for our first core fire up.
Ooh, that sounds good.
All right, let's do it. Okay, we're gonna start with a regular plank. We'll get our core fired up with some tension on our butts and our abs, and then we will advance our planks throughout today's class. With your hands down, and either from your knees in the modified plank position or from your toes, both are appropriate. Let's squeeze our cheeks, tucking our hips under, connecting our ribs to our hips. Pull our shoulders down, engaging our lats. Have our hands gripping the floor as they would in our handstand. So callus line down, fingertips down, thumbs heavy. Pull the floor together underneath you in parallel lines for 5 more seconds. Pull your right hand to your right hip and your left hand to your left hip. 3, 2, knees come down. Tailbone tips to the ceiling. Push the floor forward to send your hips back. Create room in the hips by gently pushing your femurs to the back wall and keeping that long spine. We're going to pull ourselves through to another plank 1 more time. Pull through, plank position. Hips tuck under again. This time it's our X pattern. Pull your right hand to your left hip and your left hand to your right hip, creating tension across the body. Keep squeezing your cheeks. Keep breathing. 3, 2. This time push the floor forward, lifting your hips, tailbone long. Slowly walk your hands to your feet to this time. Wait, what did I say? Yeah, walk your hands to your feet. Slowly taking your time, ending up in your forward fold. Stay here for a couple seconds, breathe. And then when you're ready and done in this position to stack up, engage your core. Head is last on top, one vertebrae at a time to come up to tall. Take a second, try that on.
It feels good. It feels good to fold, feels good to have that high tension plank. We want both supple and strong skills and skills to help us balance. So start with your feet just outside the hips. Then transfer weight to one side. I'll be choosing my left. To do that, I'll press through my right, transfer the weight to my left leg. Then draw the leg along the floor to touch the other foot. Then pull up. Perhaps pull up a little bit more. The leg that's elevated, compress, just like in that lunge position from the floor earlier. The standing leg, squeeze the bum or tuck under. Hold for time, use your balance aid if you need, and press down. And when the foot touches, connect it and press through the hip to have the heel return to the ground. Shake it out. Repeat. Feet just a little bit apart. I'll be transferring my weight to the right side. Then pulling the leg across the floor, connect to the standing leg. Pull up a little bit. A lot of it is allowed. But no matter where that foot is, the leg that's elevated is compressed or pulling in the hip, and the standing leg is again tucking under. 3, 2. Return the leg to the floor, and as it touches, extend with the power of the hips. Either from the wider stance, repeat, or from this narrow stance, again, other leg, same thing. Pull up, hold a balance. Compress in the elevated leg, tuck under the standing. Maybe from here, can you drive down and find your first demi-point raise here or toe balance? Hold for a couple seconds additionally and return to the ground with as much control as you ascended with. Press down as the foot touches, the bum squeezes. Final repetition, pull up, hold the little flamingo pose balance. Then
have the right outfit on.
Drive down through the demi-points. Extend those hips through. Use your balance aid and just try that little bit here. That's a tougher one for me today on this leg. And very slowly return to the floor, back onto 2 feet. Let's transition back to the floor, Lauren. How should we do that?
We're going to use our hinge and we're going to walk ourselves out to our plank. This first plank, we're going to use our compression a little bit. So we'll be walking our feet in towards our hands. As we do this, our hands don't go funny on the floor. Make sure they stay flat, flat, flat. I'll be watching, even though I can't. Chop your hips back. Hinge on the hips. Let's first walk ourselves out into a regular plank position. Regular plank, hands gripping, hips tucked under, cheeks squeezed, pulling our hands towards our feet for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. Now tip the tailbone to the ceiling, push the floor forward to lift your hips. Your hands will stay stationary, but your feet are going to walk in and get as close to your hands as you can get them. Keep them flat on the floor. Then take steps out with your hands, back to your plank position. Repeat 2 more times. Hips tuck under. Pull those shoulders down, engaging your lats. Squeeze your cheeks. Brace your abs. You could take a punch. You're like a park bench right now, strong and sturdy. And then tip the tailbone to the ceiling, lifting the hips. Feet walk in. Get this compression. Imagine pressing to your handstand from here one day. And last time, walk yourself out. 1 more plank. Here we go. Hips tuck, butt squeeze, pull together. High tension, squeeze even harder. And then tip the tailbone. Walk those feet in as tight as you can get them. Can your toes touch your palms? Wiggling it in. Hold for a second. And then let's just stack ourselves up from here. Again, 1 vertebrae at a time. remembering apparatus near you as you come up to tall. Oh, more where that came from.
That wall was probably a good cue for Lauren because it helped keep that nice compression. Don't bang your head.
A real alleyway.
But keep in that narrow alleyway. You got it. Okay, it's time to work on that pistol squat progression or that single leg squat. So return to the little flamingo stance here. Always use that balance at your side if you're challenged exceptionally today by this task or just looking for extra refinements.
Are we going to balance?
Not on our toes.
Okay, then I can look at you.
Not on our toes. Okay, so single leg pose. Okay, that's long enough. Let's just switch. So same thing on the other side. Descend, bending on the ankle. The knee follows, but think bending on the ankle to get low. Then pull the elevated leg up even more. And then on the standing leg, could you get a little bit lower? Then extend the hip through to tall. Repeating one more time. Pull up to go down, hang out, then pull up higher, get lower, even if it's in your imagination, and then extend the hip through to tall. Press down as the foot touches, the bum squeezes. Pull up, connect this elevated leg to that ankle down low. Then knee over toe as we descend in our squat. Pull the elevated leg up, may allow you to get 1 millimeter lower, and extend the hip through, returning to tall. One more repetition, knee over toe. Hold the balance. Then flex the hip, lifting the knee up, maybe getting lower, and extend the hip through, powerful at the top, and own the dismount with your butt cheek squeezes. And shakes.
So we're going to continue on that compression position, and we're going to try the harder one, and then we'll do the easy one later. And it's not that easy, but coming back down, we're going to end up walking out to our plank. And then I want us to find, I'm going to show you, stay where you are. I want you to find as close to your hands as you can. And for about 5 in a row, all we're going to think about doing is pressing our weight into our hands as much as we can, and then rocking back to those feet. And then pressing our weight into the hands and rocking back. Sound great?
Sounds
Good.
tough, Lauren.
It is. Let's roll ourselves down in our forward fold. To get there, we'll go out to a plank, then walk our feet in. Roll yourself forward. Chin tucks. Take your time. Stay close to your body, but shift your weight into the forefoot even though your heels are on the ground. That'll prevent those hips from extending and actually forward folding. Walk yourself out into your plank first just to get our tension. In our plank position, the usual cues, pulling together, squeezing the cheeks, bracing the core for 3, 2. Now tip the tailbone. Walk those the feet in as close as you can get them, that you feel moderately comfortable, maybe uncomfortable. Now for 5, we're going to shift our weight onto our hands, trying to get weight off of our feet. 3, 2, rock it back. Repeat 4 more times. Shift, hold, 3, 2, and back. My 3 2s might get faster. 3 more. Shift, and back. And last 2. Shift. You're thinking about those hips ending up stacking over top of your shoulders. I think last one. So stack, 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 stack. Load up those arms and the hands. Whew. Now weights in your feet. Stack yourself all the way up to tall. Whew. Give it a second. That should be some work.
That's work on the core for sure. Returning to the single leg squat progressions. With your feet in parallel, shake out those hands, of course. Then pull up to that ankle position. Descend, knee towards over toe. This time, let's shift our weight back to get just that little bit lower. Then extend those hips through all the way to the top again. Repeating one more, sets of 2 for me. Knee over toe, accordion style squat here, hips over the foot. Then pull the hip back to descend and extend further to the tall position. Replace the leg to the ground. Shake, wiggles, wardrobe adjustments, and same thing on the other side. Pull up, hold that balance, knee over toe first. Then pull the femur back, pull the femur back to descend low and extend the hip through with control. One more time. Knee over toe, squat, little plie on a single leg. Then pull the femur in, the hip will go back and press through. That's my challenging side. You probably have one too. Shake it out. Enjoy that stretch and little challenges to improve your balance and your strength.
All right, we'll transition this time between our plank position and that down dog or a 3-point position with that down dog.
Nice.
Let's get down to the floor via the hinge. So chop those hips back, vertical shins, knees bend, load on hamstrings. Walk yourself out to first a plank position. In this plank position, the usual tension. Everything's tight. Now, as we push the floor forward with our hands, we're going to flick the floor away with a foot. The foot is going to reach up to the sky, and we're in our 3-point position. Here, close your hips to the floor, no open hips. Pull yourself back through to your plank. That foot will go down, switch, flick the floor away. Lift the hips. Tailbone stays long, hips closed. Pull yourself back through. Repeating 2 more times on each side. We're breathing. We're trying to keep that knee straight on actually both sides, but definitely that leg reaching up towards the sky. Flicking the floor. Share that weight in your wrists by using your fingers and your callus line. If you just put that pressure down into that joint, your wrists are going to start to get tired, but try to distribute that load through all 10 fingers. Last one, as we lift up, square up, pull ourselves back to that plank and hold, and then we'll push the floor forward, lifting the hips, walking your hands back to your feet, bending your knees, press to tall.
Nice. Repeating the single leg squat progressions. This time, the elevated leg will be extended out the front, and then we'll ascend in the squat. Same effort for 2 repetitions. Stand on 2 feet, pull up to that single leg. Descend in that toe squat. Keep the hips over top of the foot, and then the knee in front stays stationary, but it extends, and extend the hip to stand. Flex the knee, descend in that toe squat 1 more time, knee towards over toe. Then knee stays in the same position as we extend and hold. Stand up, bend it in, and as that elevated leg touches, push the hip through. Alternate on the other side. Pull up, little ankle squat here. Knee towards over toe. Use your balance aid as you need. Then extend, hold, stand, pull in. Repeat once more. Knee over toe. Extend the knee to straight and hold. Power through. Control the dismount. And as the foot touches, bum through. And shake. One more time for me in a moment. I think one more time for a plank here, Lauren, too.
It is. We are going to do one more set of planks, and this time we're going to come back to that compression drill, but let our feet go a little bit wider. So in fast motion, we'll fold ourselves down. We'll walk ourselves out. This time, you're going to walk your hands in, and your feet are going to come slightly wider than your hands into that straddle-like position. Then same idea, think about shifting your weight over top as if to leave the floor. And we'll try that a couple times. If that's not for you, go back to one of the previous plank activities. Let's bring our feet in. We're forward fold down, and then we'll adjust while we're down there. First, tuck the chin. Roll yourself forward. Take your time. Start your compression right here. Pulling those femur bones up into the body, getting yourself as close together in a sandwich as you can. Walk yourself out, first to a plank position, just so we establish that. Then we'll start by tipping the tailbone to the ceiling, walking the feet in. As you walk the feet in, they're going to come wider than your hands. Find a comfortable place here. I have my full feet on the floor, so they're taking most of the weight. My hands are pretty free. But then I will push that weight into my hands, shifting my weight to my toes as I try to transfer all my weight into my arms and my hands, and then rock back. Repeat 4 more times. Drift and shift. Lift those hips up and control it down. 3 more. From here, one day, we could straddle press to handstand. Whew. Last 1 or 2, depends on how you're feeling. We have that wrist extension, so the shoulders are pressing forward. And right now, we're pushing the floor away, so we have those elevated shoulders here. Oh. Next, walk those feet a little bit narrower. You'll end up back into that forward fold position, and then stack yourself all the way up to tall. Woo.
Woo
Great.
is right. With those shakes and wiggles.
I have 2 more core ideas. 1 plank, 1 regular core. Just so you know, for your squats.
Last squat though for this, and then we'll finish with Lauren's core on that floor. Pull up to that single leg squat. Compress the femur in. Then we'll descend in that single leg. Then move yourself back. Then extend that leg out front and power through to the tops position. Repeat once more. Knee over toe, hip stays over the foot for as long as it can. Then you're going to drift back. Then extend that leg out front and push through to tall. Return with control, connect the foot and press the hip through to repeat on the other side. Pull up, balance, knee over toe to start. Then pull back to descend lower. Then straighten that leg out front. Press through, tall stand, flamingo stance. Last one, knee over toe. Pull yourself back to get lower. Straighten the leg out front. Extend the hip through. Pull in. Finish tall. And a shake.
Whew. 1 more. Let's come down to the floor using our hinge and find our 6-point position. Then we'll stay on the floor. Hip hinge. Walk yourself out. Our 6-point position is the hands under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. This will be a little less on those wrists, so if they're getting tired, this is our last one here. Or take a break and just watch. Now, we can create tension from the 6-point position just by pulling our hands towards our knees and our knees towards our hands. So let's do that right now. Abs braced. Light tuck under, pulling together. Now keep that tension and extend one leg out behind you, keeping the toe connected to the floor the whole time. Square up those hips to the floor. Push down in those back toes, so much so that one day that knee could hover off the floor. Then pull that knee back under, returning it underneath, and repeat on the other side. Keep the tension, drag a foot out, hips square to the floor, drive down, hold, and then return that leg underneath. 1 more time each side, a little bit of an add-on. Reach long through that tension. Now push down in that back leg that you hover that front knee up off the floor and hold. For 3, 2, light tap down of the knee, return the long leg under, and last one here, tension brace. Reach long, stay square, hover that front knee off the floor and hold. Knee comes down, leg drags in. Whew. Let's take some seconds off those wrists and end up sitting on our bottom to do 1 more core exercise. This should be like the weekend core class.
Core class.
Core class. All right, today's lesson has been brought to you by the letter C for compression. We're going to continue that for 1 more activity, combining kind of what Ian has done with leg extensions as well as what we've done. So in this V-like position, we're sitting up tall. Let's get our knees as tight to our body as we can. I have a light toe tap on the floor. Hands could be out beside you or lightly behind you, whatever feels good. Slowly from here, could we keep 1 foot on the floor but pull a knee up towards our chest and then tap it down and switch, pulling a knee up and down. Either continue with that or could we lift both legs off the floor and hold that tight V-sit for 4, 3, 2, and then tap and just take a second off. Whew. Maybe that's enough for you, or we're going to do 1 more round where we add on by straightening a single leg at a time. So establish the right V-sit for you. Toes might be touching, hands might be touching, or everything's off the floor but the bottom. Now from here, trying to keep the knee in right about the same place, could you try to straighten it and then bring it back in? And the other side, straighten and bring it back in. And one more time each side. And last time, straighten. Oh, I should do that one more time. I wasn't doing very good. There we go. Or that double leg straight for 3, 2, and back in. And rest.
Excellent.
That's some hip work there too.
Yes, it is. We'll finish off with one quick move in that 90-90 position. Let's get back to that lunge
After all that
stance.
compression.
Yeah, get a little rotation in that upper body here. Pull in on the bottom, press through on the top. We'll initiate the rotation with the head. So take the head that's looking at that screen and look at your forearm instead. Then let the body follow as you rotate towards the ground. Keep the shoulder blade back. Then look up and over a shoulder to the ceiling. Then rotate through the body to follow. Repeat once more. Head rotation towards ground or forearm on the floor. Then rotation through the rib cage. Keep pushing that top hip forward. Take a breath in. Then look up, out. Rotate through the body. And then press through to that mermaid's stance one last time. Then with hands or no hands, we'll switch and do the same thing on the other side. Top hip extends. Bottom leg pulls in. Pack the shoulder. Look at the head, with the head, look towards the forearm on the floor. With the shoulder blade retracted, rotate to catch up where the head is. Then look up to the ceiling with the head, rotate through the torso, keep that hip forward. One last time, head to the forearm on the floor. Then rotation through the torso, ensuring those shoulder blades are staying packed or retracted. Take a breath. And on your exhale, look up. Press through the floor, look to the ceiling. And again, assemble in your mermaid pose. Then get up anyhow that's available for you. Maybe it's your lunge, squat, or tall stand. And thank you very much for joining us here live at 8 a.m. on Saturdays for the weekend workout. We invite you to play with your strength.
Thanks for joining us today. I think I'm going to feel that a little bit tomorrow. So on Saturdays we play, and then next week it starts all over again. To our members, thanks for being a member. Check out your weekly link letter. If you want a weekly TV guide to your exercise, check out our membership and or our Patreon account. My name's Lauren.
I'm Ian.
Together we'll take care, stay strong, and train soon, like on Tuesday with our kettlebells. Goodbye.
Goodbye.